Hello, my name is Ed Fortunato, and this is the flight scenario for the mother-in-law flight, the first one that we're doing for this course. Next slide. So the first thing I want to start off with is the syllabus said that I'm getting qualified, I'm getting checked out in an airplane, in a new airplane, and then I'm going to fly my family out west. So right off the bat, I would not do this flight. I don't fly unless I feel sufficiently competent in the airplane that I'm going to fly, which is typically about 10 hours of flight time. And even with the same cockpit, if it's a different airplane, that's just my personal minimum. I'm a rated aviator, I've got Black Hawk hours, I've got fixed wing hours, but just up front, this is not something that I would do. But in going out west, what I would do is go through all the planning and pre-flight planning processes that we typically would do. So starting out with myself, making sure that I'm using the I Am Safe checklist and PAVE and all of that stuff. I've got a Class 2 medical that's active. I'm in good health, so I know myself. I know the passengers. I review the DECIDE model and the crew resource management. And even though it's the crew of one, really it's single pilot resource management, I like to have the person sitting next to me, which in this case is my wife. She's familiar with flying. She knows how I fly. She's familiar with the cockpit. And the different procedures taking off, en route, and landing, and I utilize her. So I utilize her to look at the checklist, I utilize her to look at the emergency procedures, obviously looking for traffic, and things of that nature. So all that's decided up front. I'll go through the flight summary, and then I make sure that I'm in compliance with the FAR, to make sure that we're doing this thing the right way. Next slide, next slide. So this is the airplane that I'm getting checked out in. I've not flown it before. It's a DA-42. It's got a G1000 cockpit, so that to me is very important. I've flown a lot of hours with the G1000, so to me it's systems management. The cockpit's the cockpit. Now I need to learn to fly the airplane. So we'll go ahead and do that. I've gone through all the maintenance records, and it's in good shape. I've done the weight and balance. I know what the rate of climb is, accelerate stop, accelerate go distances, short field landing, takeoff, short field landing, distances for the runway, and we're good. I've done fuel management, got 55 with the reserve. So the airplane's in good shape, the pilot's in good shape. Now we look at the route. Next slide. So what we're going to do is, it said take off from New England. I figured Washington, D.C. is just as good a point to start as any. And we're going to fly out to Cincinnati, Kansas, which is right on the northern edge of Kansas and Ohio. I've got a route flight. We'll fly instruments, but I've got visual checkpoints along the line the way as well. And the reason that I am flying from there is this is a flight that I'm looking to do, so I figured I could use this assignment to do a little bit of pre-flight planning. So about 361 miles, flying about 150 knots. No wind situation, about 2.5 hours to fly. So I've got decision points. We'll fly at about 8,000 feet heading west, and it's a pretty straight route going out there. So we're looking for all the different restricted areas, the terrain, all the different things that are potential hazards en route, and it's all been mitigated with the altitude that we're flying at. Next slide. So looking at the environment, again, looking at the runways, the FBOs along at the different airports. Weather, that's the big one, right? So we're always looking at the weather, what's the forecast, what's the current, making sure that I'm not taking any chances, I'm comfortable with it. Alternates, and I always like to have two alternates, one to the north since we're going west, and one to the south, because based on weather, you may want to deviate one way preferred over another. I've done pre-flight planning again, and I've got decision points. Next slide. So now we're going to start getting out there. The first thing I needed to do is get out of the special flight rules area out of Washington, D.C., 30 nautical mile area that I've got the qualifications for, so we know that right off the bat is something that we need to do. Next slide. And then what I've done is I've divided the flight into two different phases, giving myself the option to land at Chuck Yeager Airport in Charleston, West Virginia, at about 1,000 feet, 947. So it's got a sufficiently long airstrip, and then I'm able to land to even do short field landings there, or just a regular landing if I need to. So again, I've done all the ground, I've done all the fuel management planning from departing, run up, en route, arrival. I've got alternates even for that. Then my plan is to stop there and get gas. Next slide. And this is phase 2. We'll go from Yeager to Charleston. Again, I've done all the planning that we need to go out there, and my passenger knows what we're doing, and it's just a second extension of the flight. And again, with alternates. Next slide. So in summary, we go through all these things that we're taught: IAM, Safe Pay, 5 Ps, Decide model. I'm familiar with I will be familiar with the airplane before I do a flight like this, especially with family members or any other person on it. I'm familiar with multi-engine flight, the emergency procedures, specifically if you lose an engine. This time of year, icing is not really too much of a concern, but that would be something that you would look at. It's all the different factors that you need to do from point A to point B to make sure that you have a safe flight. Pre-flight planning, making sure that you've got everything answered before you take off, so you don't have to make too many unexpected decisions in the air, and you manage that all the way across. And that's how we're going to get from point A to point B. Thank you very much.